This was the one that I'm going to hold on to. Chargers at Ravens. Chargers are 2.5-point dogs in this one. This is something I've talked about a lot, Casey. I feel like we're still having home field overrated just a little bit. Ravens are awesome. Ravens are a very good team. They deserve to be 4-1. There's no question about that. And sometimes teams that maybe are this close to being 2-3 or this close to being 1-4 get to the other side of that because they have a transcendent quarterback. And that's what we're talking about with the Baltimore Ravens, because that could easily, with a bounce here, a bounce there in a couple of their games this season, we could be talking about a 1-4 or a 2-3 Ravens team really without much change to what's actually happened in their games. But they're 4-1 because Lamar Jackson is just that good. This is a different beast that they're going up against, though, in the Los Angeles Chargers. You don't get away with the style of play they had against the Colts last week and come back and beat the Chargers. You don't get away with some of the things that they've done earlier this season where they've had incredibly slow starts offensively and come back against a team like the Chargers. You're also talking about the Ravens coming off a Monday night overtime game where they really had to play it out in a big, tough way. And let's talk about the fact they had to come back from 22-3 in the second half. I mean, that was a furious, let's call it, 35 minutes or so of actual just football time, on field time for that team on both sides of the ball. And now they're going up against this Chargers team that, looks like one of the 3 best teams in the NFL right now, one of the 4 best teams in the NFL, something like that. And the Chargers are getting the points here. And again, I just think this overrates the value of home field. So I feel like simply, KC, I'm getting the better team with points, and I don't care where this game's being played. If I'm going to get the better team with points, that's something I'm going to take. The Chargers, I think what they do offensively, a little bit more reliable, a little bit more bankable. I think what they do defensively, just flat out better than the Ravens. I mean, you could argue the other side of the offense, and you would have a leg to stand on. The Chargers are simply a better defense than what Baltimore brings to the table. So again, better team, getting points, don't care where it's played. Give me the Chargers.
I like the idea too that the weakness of the Chargers defense is the running game. They are run defense. They've had problems there, but that means Baltimore is going to try and play close to the vest game, which, hey, they tried to do that early Monday night and it didn't work against Colts. They tried it and it blew up in their face. So I think that the setup for the game personnel wise is also going to lean towards the Ravens trying to go run heavy. And if they do, I like the Chargers better in that matchup because it takes away. Now you got Lamar Jackson just running the ball instead of throwing it. And he doesn't want to throw against a Brandon Staley defense anyway.
Sake of transparency, I will say I'm starting Latavius Murray in a couple of fantasy leagues because of the weakness of that Chargers run defense, but still feel very good about the Chargers and the 2.5 points that they're getting in Baltimore. Your second pick, an NFC North clash in Chicago, Packers and Bears. Packers are 5.5-point favorites. What do you got for us here?
Kind of wonder why that spread isn't even higher. I know it's in Chicago and on. Chicago's been getting a couple of wins here, but here, look, Chicago's got a third-string running back. They lost David Montgomery to injury. Damian Williams has a positive COVID-19 test. He won't play. It might not be with and I have Allen Robinson because he didn't practice on Thursday, so he's going to be banged even if he does play, and he's done terrible this year. Darnell Mooney, the other top receiver, he's got a groin injury, so he might not be full go. They just put their starting right tackle on injury reserve. Justin Fields is dealing with a knee injury. They haven't thrown for 200 passing yards in a single game. They scored 20 points, more than 20 points only one time, and that was against Detroit. The Packers got 264 rushing yards the past 2 weeks. They're getting Aaron Jones and Dillon both involved in the ground game. They have 4 straight games of 25 points or more, 320 or more offensive yards. They have 2 takeaways in all 4 of those games. And you're talking Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. But just keep looking at things. I can't see Chicago. I have trouble seeing them getting even to 20 points. I think it's going to be like a 14 to 17 point game for them if they're lucky. And I can easily see Green Bay getting to 24. And plus, now that Chicago's 3-19 in its last 22 against Green Bay, and the Packers are 4-0 against the spread this year. So, or against the spread in their last 4. So I just keep looking it up going, I don't understand why the spread isn't higher than 5.5.
It's creeping up too. It started at 4.5, it ticked up to 5, and now it's ticked back up to 5.5 as well. And I'm with you. I mean, the Bears defense, tip your cap to them, right? The Bears defense played pretty well this season, but they're not going to totally shut down the Packers, are they? And where are the Bears scoring in this game? I know that no one's really, running away afraid of the Packers defense, but you got to be able to take advantage. Just because a matchup is good on paper doesn't automatically mean that you just put up 20 or 24 or 27 points. You have to have the personnel to take advantage. And That Bears offense has just been atrocious. And it's like, it's not crazy for them to still be figuring out what they are and who Justin Fields is in his fourth career start. Like, that's totally defensible, especially when you consider the offensive line that he's dealt with. But I mean, it's just the truth. It's just the fact of the matter of where this Bears team stands. It's just a bad offense, plain and simple. And so the only way that they stay within the 5.5, Casey, I think, is if they find a way to really contain Green Bay's offense. I mean, if the Bears are going to stay within 5.5, I don't think Green Bay can score 20 points. I think that's the recipe. They somehow make this like a 17-13 slugfest, and I just don't see that happening. It feels like an unrealistic script with the way that Green Bay is going offensively. I don't think they roll up 30 or 31 on the Bears, but this has the feeling of like a 24-10 sort of game for me, where the Packers just have them at arm's length all game and are just that much better than the Bears. So I'm with you on this one. I like this one quite a bit. And I'm going to wrap us up with one that you also like, because we, like I said, we both had to cut one that we wanted to talk about. This was the one you wanted to cut, so I'm going to take it. I'll go with the Cowboys minus 3.5 at the Patriots. This is a bet I've been talking about all week, really, on this show. I wrote about it, liking it early in the week, and I still like it here. And I'm just going to – so last week I did the same thing with the Cowboys. I wrote about them in my early lines column. I talked about them on Monday on our early lines podcast. They were 7-point favorites against the Giants. And then we got to this show with you and me, Casey, and I'm like, kind of bored about talking about the Cowboys. I've done that. Let me pick something else for this show. And then I go 1-2, and the Cowboys beat the Giants by 24 points. So screw that. I'm done with that. I'm just trusting the Cowboys. This is a team, I'm going to say it until it's not true, undefeated against the spread this season, 5-0 against the spread, and frankly, none of them has been close. I mean, they have just completely annihilated the spread in every game that they've been in this season. Again, this is, I think, overrating home field. How are these teams 3.5 points within each other? How is that possible? The only way that's possible, I think, if I get into trouble here, it's Bill Belichick outcoaching the hell out of Mike McCarthy. And no one would be surprised by that outcome. But the gap in talent between these two teams is immense. It is huge. And how this is similar to what we just talked about with the Bears and the Packers. How do the Patriots keep up with the Cowboys offense? I think they need the exact script that they played pretty darn well in their defense against the Buccaneers a couple of weeks ago when they held the Buccaneers to 19 points. They need that script to a T against the Cowboys also. That means making the Cowboys go on 9, 10, 11, 12 play drives to get their scores. That means limiting big plays. That means shortening the game as few possessions as possible. Can they do that with a banged up Damian Harris? I mean, we're not even sure if Damian Harris is going to play as you and I are sitting here talking about this game. And even if that happens, the Cowboys can still cover this spread. It's just there's too many boxes for the Patriots to check along the way, and they can't keep up in a high-scoring game with the Cowboys. They just can't. That is not the way this team is built. That's just not the personnel that this team has. Cowboys are really good. 5-0 against the spread. They make it 6-0 this week.
Agree. New England scored 17 or fewer points 3 times. The only games they went over were against the Jets and Houston. They've allowed 120 rushing yards in 3 of the past 4. Take away the Jets game, too, by the way. They have 2 takeaways all year, and the Jets have obviously had a rookie quarterback, and they've only had 1 takeaway the past 3 weeks. And their offense has given away 2 more turnovers. Mm-hmm. They've had 2 more giveaways in 4 games this year, 4 out of 5 games. So I think they turn the ball over on offense. They don't get the ball back on defense. And you've got Trevon Diggs on the other side. He's the best ball hawk since Lester Hayes. And I think it's going old school. But yeah, I just, there's so many paths to victory for Dallas that Belichick outcoaching McCarthy is the only path.
Yeah, it is. And even if that happens, it's sort of similar to what we saw against the Buccaneers a couple of weeks ago. Buccaneers still win that game. They don't cover the spread, but they still win that game. And I think the Cowboys have that path very much available to them. So just absolutely love the Cowboys in this spot, laying the 3.5 against the Patriots in New England.